Good evening and welcome to A Land Down Under, here for the fourth round of Season 2 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, and where we are is hallowed tarmac. Welcome to the mountain, Mount Panorama in Bathurst, New South Wales in Australia. Alex Goldschmidt and David Christie back with you once again for the first of 5 race evenings over the next couple of months here in 2021. And of course, we can't thank Simply Race's Mike Yow for the fantastic broadcast. David, good evening. How are you, buddy?
I am very, very well, Alex. It's been a fantastic Christmas and New Year period. I'm delighted to be back. Let's get cracking on with the racing. What better place to return to, Alex, than Bathurst, Mount Panorama? A beautiful, beautiful circuit, the perfect sim to take part in, and one or two other reasons to be very, very excited. And I want kudos for being so restrained, given how awesome tonight is.
Well, for those that saw our news earlier on this week, yes, we do have a Formula One world champion who's not just a Formula One world champion, he's also a Super GT GT500 champion. He is, of course, Frome's very own Jenson Button is one of the 28 drivers here this evening. We have a total of 28 cars, 12 Pro, 13 AM, and 3 Invitationals, which do include the returnees of Alex Buncombe and Sebastian Prio. And it's we're now going to go to the standings. Look at the points between Joonas Raivio and Matt Richards from Rocket Esports. They are leading the way. But Jan van der Heyde made a return at Hockenheim and took a well-deserved second place, putting him ahead of Zansho Simsport teammate Sido Weijer. Martin Buchan, the leading independent in the class, is 5th on 31 points. And that is equal on points with CAMSport Fire's Christian Kelly. Louis Stewart in the Green Machine Motorsport Audi R8 is 7th ahead of Sean King. Bobby Trundley makes a long-awaited return to the series ahead of Simsports eSports Haytham Abdul-Qadir, with Dan Blake from Team Fordzilla 2 rounding out the top 11. Let's head over to how close it has been in AM here on the Team BRIT GT Challenge. Bradley Brockies, Cammy Sturch and Ben Brown covered by just 2 points in the top 3. Stuart Ross French, who I spoke to last night on our official preview show, the resident Aussie who has actually raced around here at Bathurst, and he's not the only one, because we'll get to that in just a couple of moments. Sandro Ballesteros, he is being rejoined by Bradley Brockies in eTeam BRIT, so Brockies leading the way. Chris Wilson in 6th ahead of Max Spooner. Daniel Heyde not competing. He has actually been given a race ban due to obviously incidents that took place at Hockenheim just 2 weeks ago. He's ahead by just 2 points ahead of Team Fordzilla 2's David Simon. Ben Hetherington and David Taylor Piggott round out the top 11. Let's have a look at the team standings. So Rocket Esports lead on 124 points. That's 32 ahead of eTeam BRIT, who took the initial advantage after the first round at Silverstone. CAMSport Fire just a further 10 points adrift in 3rd, with Zansho Simsport bringing up 4th. And Cammy Sturch apparently is now holding the fort for Team Fordzilla 1, because she's actually running solo. No Charlie Crossan again for the second race meeting in succession ahead of CAMSport Ice, Canan Casual Apex, who now have Grant Lyman. You might know that name if you've been to Simply Race before. He's actually running alongside Ben Hetherington. Then we've got Team Fordzilla 2 and Team BRIT in 10th position. That is the standings currently at the moment. But David, it's really, really looking rather exciting. But I think to whet our appetite a little bit more, shall we go to the highlights from Hockenheim 2 weeks ago?
Let's do it.
So here we are, the highlights from Hockenheim. And as soon as they put the accelerators to the floor, we will be flat out towards the Nord cover. 4.574 kilometers, 2.842 miles per lap. We are about to get things underway here in Germany, and it is about who's going to get the jump. Looks like a good one from Richards. Van der Heyde going side by side as they head down into Nordkurve for the first time, and it's nearly 3 abreast down towards the bottom of the top 10. But Richards has got the initial advantage on Van der Heyde, as it looks like there has been one of the marker boards, the braking marker boards, coming back off and onto the circuit, and then gets pitched skywards.
So, Martin, a little bit of a cork in that bottle right now.
Yeah, forget the Arno Trulli train, it's the Martin Buchan train at the moment. So Alex Buncombe in the slipstream, looking towards the inside of the McLaren, thinks discretion is the better part of valor going into the Nordkurve, gets a good run. Oh, that's a great run from Alex Buncombe as they now head to the Einfahrt Parabolica. Now Buncombe up into 5th place. Nice gain there from Alex, as now Cammy Sturch looking to go around the outside in the radical, looks into the next left-hander, loses a bit of momentum, and nearly gets pounced upon by Christian Kelly.
Oh, bit of contact there from Cammy. That was completely unintentional.
It's a little bit earlier. Now that's Sebastian Priya. Oh, he just lost the back end and went pirouetting out of Nordkurve. That's why. So just keep your eyes on this. The car's going to roll backwards now. He held onto the brakes and waited for a safe rejoin. Nice. That's how you should rejoin. Right, that was Sean. Yeah, so you're just seeing Sean King going up the inside. Oh, now that was a little bit of a touch there. On Cammy Sturch, who in turn is closing down on Bradley Brockies. Oh, Sturch runs wide, but manages to keep the tighter line. The back end squirming around on the back of that radical. Cammy Sturch from Team 401 still keeps it in front for 9th position and 2nd in the AM class at the moment. But look at the closing speed from the 720S. Pit stop window now officially open. Oh, David Taylor-Piggott has got no rear wing. He's absolutely crawling that BMW.
Sido Weijer just makes a move up, or tries to make a move up the inside on Jan van der Heyde for 3rd place there.
In the BMW. Oh, he just loses the back end. And you can just see it coming. Look, it's rotating. It's going to start rolling back. And on the exit of the pit lane, bang, rear wing's gone. Alex Buncombe will now get a drive-through penalty for repeated track limits abuse.
Ouch.
Alex Buncombe gets a bit of a wiggle on going through Nordkurve there.
Is he done? Alex Buncombe pulling off to the right-hand side. Martin Buchan and Christian Kelly, they are like the best of enemies right now.
Van der Heyde now up the inside of the current points leader. Oh, 0 on the clock as Cammy Sturch really feeling the heat under the collar from Bradley Brockies. Matt Richards, one more corner to go. 2 different winners from 3 race meetings. The defending champion from Jensen Team Rocket eSports, Matt Richards, takes the victory after 38 laps of competition. Brockies doing everything in his power through the Parabolica as Van der Heyde takes 2nd, Weijer takes 3rd, Raivio will take 4th.
Oh, he's done it! Bradley Brockies capitalises on a mistake from Cammy Sturch. She went way too hot into the hairpin there and just car washed out wide, handed it on a silver platter after all that fighting.
In just a moment's time as Stuart Ross French makes it 3 different winners in the AM class here at Hockenheim going into the winter break at 2020. Stuart Ross French from Red Shell Racing wins the AM class. So we're now back here at Mount Panorama. Alex Goldschmidt and David Christie, your official GT Challenge commentators. David, the mountain, iconic. It has so much history. We've got so many comments in. Good to hear from Chief Engineer at Team BRIT, Al Locke, who's cheering on Max Spooner from Racing with Autism International. We've already had someone said, will Max Spooner pop for an ice cream today? That's the usual bit of banter between you Team BRIT boys. Well,
bit harsh.
Yeah, but it's a joke that's been happening. Tim Lane, good friends with Stuart Ross French. He's supporting the resident Aussie, who actually has raced around here. Not only that, Alex Buncombe has actually raced alongside Rick Kelly just a few years ago in Bathurst, and he actually finished P7 when Kelly Motorsport was still running the Nissan Altima. So and he's topping the timesheets at the moment. He's been running pretty quickly in around the 2-minute 2-second bracket at the minute. Jenson Button actually holds the unofficial lap record around this circuit, and he did that in the MP423 Vodafone McLaren Mercedes car. As publicity for the 2011 Australian Grand Prix, where he actually did a swap with Triple Eight Racing's Craig Lowndes that particular year. It was a 1:48.88. We know that the cars here aren't going to do that, but they're getting close to the 2-minute and 2-second bracket. But David, just the amount of talent that we've got here this evening, it's going to be a really interesting race, but also quite fearsome, because even though we have over 3 kilometres out of this 6.2 kilometre circuit made up of pure flat out straightaways, the rest of it is a completely different puzzle to solve.
Oh, it certainly is. It's one of my favourite tracks there is, the GT3s come to. Of course, we have the LIQUI MOLY 12 hours here every single year. Fortunately, not going to be happening with the current outbreak. But going back to the circuit itself, right? The fact that you've got the straights and the wonderful mix of twists and turns as you go up and down the hill, that's one thing that's difficult enough to navigate as a driver yourself. But when you add into the mix the other 27 drivers that you've got on the grid here, that is another challenge completely, Alex, because God knows what is going to happen tonight, and I'm genuinely, I get fairly excited about eTeam BRIT races anyway, but tonight, this is probably one of my highlights of the season right here. Not just because obviously we've got Jenson Button and we've got the likes of our boy Jack Nicholls in the grid as well, but this is a real class of sim racing that we've got going on right now.
Yes, so welcome to ABB FIA Formula E lead commentator, who also has commentated on the race All-Stars. Jack Nicholls is partnered up with the race's very own F1 reporter, Scott Mitchell, who originally based from these very shores, but now lives in Sweden. And they're running the King's Racing pair of 650Ss. And we've got another two, courtesy of Ed Straw, who also works for the race. He's a freelance F1 journalist in his own right, and he's also works with American publication Racer, and he's actually teamed up with Scott Mitchell's younger brother Luke. So we welcome King's Racing and King's Dealer Racing, who also competed in the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car UK Championship. So welcome to them. But yeah, the amount of drivers that we've got here tonight, I'm just looking at the times at the minute, and Alex Buncombe has put in a 2-minute 2.429, but guess who's quickly on his heels? Matt Richards, who's only 2 points away from trying to overtake Joonas Raivio, who had a bit of a difficult run at Hockenheim 2 weeks ago. But this is the first of our Aussie doubleheader. So after this, 2 weeks from now, on the 22nd, we'll be heading to Adelaide, the home of the Clipsal 500, for our second trip down under, and that's going to be another tricky track for our drivers. But look, you can just see Christian Kelly in that Mercedes, just under half a second off of Alex Buncombe, and that's going to be really interesting, because it's not easy. We found that on the hot lap, didn't we? That you go into, like, say, Herald Corner, as there is the official Team BRIT BMW i8 safety car, newly introduced, and this is going to happen for the rest of the season. and that is being driven by Andy Tucker from Team BRIT, our token Welshman in the crew, and good to have him with us. I know that he was competing a bit earlier on the season, but he is on other duties now. But the biggest thing, there's been major incidents previously. Fabian Coulthard's roll coming off of the chase when the left rear tyre delaminated at over 300 kilometres an hour. The redress between Scott McLaughlin and Garth Tander a couple of years ago at the chase. And then, of course, Marcus Ambrose famous off at Reed Park. And that was with Greg Murphy, and that was definitely one that really stoked the fires as well. As you can see, there is the calendar for the remainder of the season. We head to Adelaide on the 22nd of January, Monza 5th of February for round 6, then the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari at Imola on the 19th of February. That is the penultimate round, and then we head to Circuit de la South, Le Mans, the double points round on the 5th of March. That will close the season, but with the Le Mans double points round, it's a 2-hour race. It's double points on offer and 2 mandatory 30-second pit stops. But one of the other big things here, David, about this circuit here at Bathurst is about the consistency. It's not about going for it when you know you need to, but it's about biding your time and waiting to make that attack work for itself.
Strategy is going to be such a key tonight, Alex, and you're absolutely right about consistency being huge, because one of the things that drivers are going to struggle with tonight is concentration, keeping themselves focused and keeping themselves, especially if they find themselves in clear space throughout the lap, keeping themselves focused and taking every corner as it comes. The tyres are going to change on every single lap. Just very, very slightly, so no 2 laps are going to be the same for them. And we know from watching the real life racing and the sim racing as well, Alex, one mistake is all it takes to potentially destroy your evening. One thing I do want to focus as we head to the tail end of our practice session with just 3 minutes left to go. In the 2 minutes that we've gone from last looking at the times, we've now got 5 drivers in the 202s. Jack Nichols with a 202.449, just 2/100ths of a second off the time set by Alex Buncombe. Jenson Button also jumps himself up into 4th position in practice, 202.483. So you've got 4 drivers within 5/100ths of a second. That is incredible pace. I also wanted to mention quickly about Matt Richards, and also it was more Christian Kelly, because Christian Kelly has been maybe 2 to 3 tenths sparring with Martin Buchan throughout the season, but tonight in practice so far, if he can hold on to that sort of pace, he's on for a very, very good performance tonight.
Okay, well, before we go to qualifying, we're going to have a look at the fantastic controls engineered by Team BRIT. Oh, so actually, no, funny enough, to give you an idea of how tricky it's going to be, we're going to go on board with the Bentley here at Bathurst on a hot lap. Mount Panorama, 3.861 miles as we now head around the circuit in New South Wales into Hell Corner, dropping from 4th at 125 down to 2nd gear at 63 miles an hour. I'm going to head up the mountain straight towards the right-hander at Quarry Bend, going up the gears up to 5th, and going to max out at around 155 miles an hour in 6th gear before slamming on the brakes down 3 gears into 3rd at around 90 miles an hour on the apex before we start our ascent up the hill here at Bathurst, through into the cutting, taking at 3rd gear at around 75, dropping down to 2nd for a brief moment. A little bit of correction there in the Bentley, through Griffin's Mount at around 3rd gear at 90 on the apex, now into Reed Park before the sweeping left at Salmon Park, which will be taken around 4th gear at about 110 miles an hour. A little bit of correction again from the Bentley as we nearly tap the wall on the right hand side. Through into McPhillamy, taken at 125 miles an hour, through into Skyline at around 135 before dropping down the gears, down through the Dipper and the S's, down into 1st gear. You can just see how hard it is through the tight and technical section, as it won't be a great place for overtaking. Then through into Forest Elbow, 2nd gear, full lock to lock there on the left hand down. And now we explode out of the corner, up the gears, up to 4th, up to 5th. And we're going to hit 6th gear very shortly, we're going to VMAX at around 175 miles an hour in the approach into the chase, having come down Conrod Straight. Now we're going to head into the braking zone, hard on the brakes, down into second at 70 miles an hour. Through the first part, into the right-hander, to exit out of the chase at around 85 on the apex. Now just one more corner to negotiate, Murray's corner. We're going to head up to around 135, drop down to second at 60, tight on the apex, a little bit of correction, and across the line in fourth gear at 120 miles an hour. Right now, qualifying underway. The official lap record around here at Mount Panorama in a GT3 sports car just so happens to be New Zealand's very own Gizzy, Shane van Gisbergen, who on the 7th of February 2016 in a McLaren 650S GT3 put in a 2-minute 1.560. We have seen that beaten this evening by Alex Buncombe already in free practice. Now, David, that's a sign of things of what's to come here in qualifying.
It certainly is. I mean, a 201.4 for Alex Buncombe was just incredible pace. And to be honest, Joonas Raivio, Jenson Button, Jack Nicholls, I wouldn't put it past them possibly getting into that sort of pace as well. So we'll see how it goes. But I mean, 30 minutes of qualifying here, Alex, there's a lot to discuss because you wouldn't have thought it, given that obviously we've got the race coming up, but there's a lot of strategy involved in qualifying as well, isn't there? Because the variables change so much as the cars drive their way around the track. They rubber up the track, they put more and more grip into the track, and they all get faster and faster.
Yeah, so we're now actually with Jensen himself as he's going up the hill, and this is where it starts to get a bit tricky. You've got to really be rather precise. So he will now be making his way up towards Sulman, Reed and Sulman Park. And now, look, that car just literally launched up into the air and he's gone purple in Sector 1. Now he's going to head through into McPhillamy and then into Skyline, absolutely pushing the envelope of adhesion through down into the S's. And this is one of the places where they're really in race control going to be concentrating on. You've got to be neat and tidy. Again, the car leaps up. It's so bumpy here at Bathurst. But looking rather composed there. And again, the front right wheel lifting off the ground is now out of second gear through Forest Elbow. And it looks like Jensen's got one of the, I think that's one of the Team Fordzilla cars. Well, looks like a pair of them going down the straightaway. Up in Sector 2 is the number 24, running in the Rocket eSports livery. Then now into the chase. We're going to brake from quite a significant amount of speed and go to effectively the British speed limit for motorway.
Wow! Joonas Raivio has just fired in a 2-minute 0.9. Are you kidding me?
Hang on a second. Wait a second. Jenson Button's about to come through Murray's, so he's improved. He's done a personal best in both first and second sectors. A 2-minute 2. That puts him P3. But look at Jan van der Heyde. He's gone just under 0.3 of a second slower. So the top three already covered by just over a second, with Joonas Raivio, Jan van der Heyde and Jenson Button rounding out the top three. There's Alex Buncombe. He's got plenty of experience around here thanks to 2 Bathurst 1000s. And he's gearing up at the moment, it looks like, is the number 36. And there is Stuart Ross French, our resident Aussie. Raced around here in a Suzuki Swift, as he openly admitted that to me last night in the official preview show for round 4. And he said, words cannot you can't put it into words what it means to drive around here. And to do it in a Suzuki Swift, that man's got some gumption, hasn't he?
I've got to be honest, I'm surprised little Swift's able to make it up the hill, but obviously it has. And to be fair, it might have been the turbo one, so you know that's fine if it is.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been the 1.6 Suzuki.
It's a long lap though. Jeez, but I mean, I've got to be honest, right? We spoke about, or rather, you spoke about Jenson Button and the visible bumps on this track. I'm watching Joonas Raivio. I'm very lucky to have multiple camera angles thanks to Mikey out simply race, and it just exaggerates the point you were making there. This track is so bumpy. I can't understand how these aliens, that's what they are, aliens, are able to put in such incredible times right now. Matt Richards up there, 201.434. So Matt Richards as well joins the record-breaking club. Well,
they do say that the times they are changing. There's Ed Straw, one of the King Steeler Racing 650Ss. So along with him and Luke Mitchell. And you can just see that is Scott Mitchell behind Sebastian Priaulx in 7th position. Jack Nichols rounds out the top 9 ahead of Christian Kelly. So these drivers are they've put in this. You can tell that they've put in the work rate here. They really have ahead of tonight. No one wants to have that embarrassing mistake of an issue or contact with the wall. I mean, if anyone remembers Chaz Mostert's straight line through the S's and the Dipper, and the Ford Falcon was rather second-hand and was pretty much an insurance write-off, as Ed Straw has a little bit of a front-end launch going down the dip through Silman Park and into McPhillamy. So, and you can just see how committed everyone is. They're really pushing, and they're keeping it neat and tidy as well here, David.
They certainly are, Alex, and that is the key. It's what you said about 20 minutes ago. You said consistency is going to be so important, and it absolutely is. Even in qualifying, to get a fast lap, you've got to have a really fast out lap, and you've got to have a fast lead off going up towards that first corner, because when you go in towards towards Hell Corner, you've got to get that exit right to get the acceleration and get the momentum up the mountain straight. That's where your lap is completely lost if you don't get a good start there. So really important to see that. And now we have 5 drivers in the 201s. You've got Alex Buncombe with a 201.1, Jan van der Heyde with a 201.2, Matt Richards 201.4, Jenson Button 201.8. So at the moment we have got, and this is what I love to see, we've got 10 drivers within 2 seconds of the leader, Joonas Raivio.
Well, there's Ed Straw. He's just gone up to 18th position. Max Spooner in the Racing with Autism International 63 720S GT3. He's made an improvement in Sector 1, so it's a personal best for him as he's now going through Skyline. Now down into the S's, through into the Dipper. Got to keep it nice and tidy here. You don't want to clatter into the wall. Spooner makes it nice and neatly through. So yeah, I mean, just between Raivio, Buncombe and Van der Heyde, and there is Sebastian Priaulx, son of 3-time World Touring Car Champion Andy Priaulx. He's back for another bite of the cherry. He's currently running P7 at the minute, and he's absolutely committed with planting that throttle down and spooling up the rear tyres. So we'll see how he gets on. But 1.158 seconds separate the top 7 as Sebastian Priaulx, followed by Stuart Ross French, comes out of Forest Elbow and down the infamous Conrod Straight. It was actually known as Main Straight before the fact that someone actually had a Conrod failure on Main Straight, and they renamed it Conrod Straight, which is quite an interesting story in doing my research before tonight's event. But yeah, the top 5, the top 6 covered by less than a second. It's getting really close. And well, what's good, David, is that the track is rubbering in.
Yeah, that's the point that I was making about 5 minutes ago, is that the cars will get faster and faster. In fact, we're already 10 minutes into the qualifying session here, and what you're going to find is that it'll get to a peak point probably about 10 minutes to go where it's at its fastest that it's going to be. So up until this point, it's just free time. All of these drivers that are out there are going to get faster and faster. They're going to get more comfortable and maybe a little bit more cheeky with track limits, with curbs, and getting a little bit more entry speed into corners, and just exploring how fast they can actually take this track.
Yeah, very much indeed. As there is Haytham Abdelkader, the Flying Dutchman, in the number 99. He's He's definitely going to have that opportunity of seeing if the Aston Martin can do a bit of damage this evening. And I don't mean literal damage, I mean damage by moving up the field. So the top 16 covered by 3.5 seconds, which includes Team BRIT's Bobby Trundley, who's made a return. So yeah, we could see whether the Mercedes-powered Aston Martin, yes, and I do mean Mercedes-powered, because Mercedes do work hand in hand on not just the road cars, also for 2021. Aston Martin F1 team are running with Mercedes power units for 2021 and beyond, especially with their new lineup, Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll. But yeah, I'm wondering if the Aston could do some, maybe have a good chance at an opportunity here this evening, David.
Yeah, the balance of power is really quite something in R Factor 2. They've really done well to neuter the GT3 and make sure that no one car has a real particular advantage. So it's it kind of brings everything to a level playing field, and they've got just as much of a chance as anybody else, I've got to be honest, Alex. So fingers crossed they can get a decent result, but we'll have to wait and see with the 18 minutes left in qualifying.
Yeah, so still plenty of time for drivers to put in their hot laps, as there is Bobby Trundley going down Mountain Straight, and that will put him into Griffin's Bend. So we'll see if he can improve. We've had a brief yellow flag out. So yeah, we'll see what happens over the next few minutes, because even with the track evolution at this particular point in time, David, I mean, it's 22 degrees, it's sunny, it's optimum track temperatures. There's Luke Mitchell in the 77 Kings Dealer Racing McLaren 650S. And he's done a personal best in sector number 1. And Alex Buncombe in the meantime, look look how close he is to Joonas Raivio. 69 thousandths of a second is Alex Buncombe. Then it's Von der Heyde in 3rd place still at this particular moment in time. But still rather competitive, even when you look at 16th place onwards. The gaps aren't really that few or far between those drivers, are they?
No, and again, it's fantastic to see that, because as somebody that does sim racing myself, there's nothing that I enjoy more than having a good group of drivers around you who are on the same pace as you. As I'm watching Alex Buncombe just have one of the most horrific crashes coming over Skyline I think I've ever seen in my life. I think he'll be happy if that never gets aired, so we'll just avoid that one. But again, just go back to what you were saying about having drivers around you, Alex, that are closely matched on pace and on time. I mean, looking at that again, that's what 6 drivers we've got within a second there. So they're all going to be battling amongst themselves. Then you've got another 4 between Sebastian Priel, Martin Buchan, Scott Mitchell, Christian Kelly. Great to see Martin Buchan still back on the times with Christian Kelly, because it's just fantastic to see the rivalry and the sort of banter that goes on between those two. Of course, formerly in the Cinetic BMW Championship last year, and fighting it out in the GT3s this year, and they've just picked up where they left off last year.
Oh, I think we've got that crash coming up on the replay.
It's wild.
Yes. Yeah, commentators... he loses the back end going through Skyline and into the S's. The back end smacks into the tyre barriers. That was an absolute howitzer. You weren't half wrong there, David.
I was watching it and I'm like, it's sim racing, and I'm still wincing, and I'm still like, ooh, ow, that's going to actually hurt. Because of course, what we don't remember, Alex, is that some of these guys are driving with very, very expensive, high torque force feedback wheels, and if you get an accident like that on a direct drive wheel, yeah, you're letting go of that wheel, because that will hurt.
Yeah, definitely the case. And when you think about it, the likes of Sido Weijer, Joonas Raivio, they've been running in the R Factor 2 GT Pro Series. So there's a lot of intense competition. And to be fair, like Jan Von der Heyde, he's in that as well. Matt Richards is in that as well. So you've got some of the top guys in that particular championship that run on this platform as well. So they know it very, very well indeed. So we're over halfway through this session. It's our 4th qualifying session. As all, bit of a smart against the wall from David Taylor-Piggott. These walls, and that was going through Solman Park on the run down to McPhillamy. And he's now trying to make it a little bit tidier going through the S's into the dipper. Back end steps out. Oh!
That's not going to happen.
That was going to be a case of pushing like crazy. Grant Lyman, look at this performance from him. He's replaced Dan Heyde for Cadan Casual Apex as a one-off for this evening, and he's running in P14 at the moment. So, David, what's the situation looking with regards to our AM drivers at the moment? Who's running in provisional pole for that class?
Well, you've slightly thrown me under the bus with that one, because I'll have to go and bring up the AM sheet so I can figure out who's who. Bradley Brockies is in 21st position at the moment, so he's obviously leading the championship right now. But I think it's going to be Cammy Sturge, because she's up in 13th place right now. Ben Brown, is down in 20th place. Stuart Ross French is, he's not there. So I think it's going to be Cammy then up into to 13th place with 2:03.669. So yeah, decent result for her if that sticks.
Yeah, very much the case. So we have 12 minutes and 53 seconds to go here in qualification. And this is where it's going to be really, really interesting. Who's going to get as... whoa! It's gotten even more interesting now, because Jan van der Heyde has gone 2 1,000ths within Joonas Raivio. The battle for pole position well and truly on. So that means that this could be the potential of being the closest for qualifying session this season so far, for the halfway point before we head to Adelaide in a couple of weeks' time.
This is wild, and this is just getting started, because as I said, we're now going to hit that point of peak performance from the track, Alex, and this is when the cars want to be out and doing their fast laps. But again, you've still got those 4 drivers in the 201s. You've got Alex Buncombe, you've got Matt Richards, Sido Weijer, Jensen Button. Then in the 202s, you've got Sebastian Prio, Scott Mitchell, Martin Buchan, and Christian Kelly now going to be side by side on the grid. That's going to be awesome watching that on the run down to turn 1. And just rather rudely, Jack Nichols has decided to split that party up, because he's popped himself into 10th position, 2:02.844. You spoke earlier on about David Taylor-Piggott. Again, just watching him, I've got a vested interest, a good buddy of mine, and the rear end, he needs to step up the rear wing if possible on that, and loosen the suspension on the back of that car, Alex, because it's just too firm. The car is just swinging its round, and you see it every single time he's turning a corner. On the brakes, the car unloads itself and just slides about. So yeah, he's really, really having a difficult time, and my concern is that he's at the point where he's really struggling to get going, and that's going to leave him at the mercy of some of the faster cars very, very quickly. And this is a very narrow track, Alex, so if we see any incidents, it's going to be our safety car that's going to get called on. But you mentioned our very special man driving the safety car. I've got a question, is that the right man for a safety car?
I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine at doing the job. I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry about Andy. Don't worry about him. I'm sure he'll do absolutely fine. There's Chris Wilson on your screens at home in the CAMSport Ice number 55 Bentley Continental 2020 variation. He's currently running in P19 at the moment. 3.3 seconds off of Joonas Raivio, as Stuart Ross French has a little bit of a moment going up the hill, and that would have been going through the cutting and then through into Quarry. So Chris Wilson trying to see if he can keep that Bentley steered ship-shape in Bristol fashion. Very close to the wall there on the right-hand side, going through the repark.
Wow. Johan van der Heyde has just taken pole position, 2 minutes, 0.7. That is absolutely huge. Alex Buncombe also improves on his lap, 2 minutes, 0.930. So it is all change at the top, Alex.
That's a very, very impressive lap time. Jan van der Heyde, a 2:07.89. Alex Buncombe. Look at Matt Richards. He's gone purple in Sector 1. He's now going through into the S's and down into the dipper. He's 2 points away from Joonas Raivio, and he's absolutely wrestling that Corvette by the scruff of its neck. But let's just stay with him for the moment. He's going to come through Forest Elbow, now punch the throttle to the floor, go up the gears. So he's up by 0.107 tenths of a second. 10 thousandths up, or 19 thousandths up in Sector 2. He's now going to fly his way down the chase. Joonas Raivio up in Sector 1. He's gone purple in Sector... Well, he's gone purple in Sector 2. So the two Rocket eSports teammates, both not just leading the team's championships, but they're battling for the lead in the standings. Richards has got Louis Stewart just at his 12, just in front of him. As there's a big burst of exhaust flame from the side pipe. So 2:07.34 from Matt Richards. A 2:07.34 with just over 8 minutes on the clock remaining. Raivio goes P3. Jenson Button now starting another hot lap with about 8 minutes on the clock to go. He's got one of the CAMSport Fire Mercedes just behind him. But what a lap there from Matt Richards to go quicker by 54 thousandths of a second ahead of Jan van der Heyde. Wow. It's really kicking off now.
It certainly is, and that's exactly what I was saying about the track reaching that peak evolution stage where the pace that these drivers have got now is just absolutely incredible. Matt Richards into the pits. I don't know if we'll see him again through the session. We'll wait and find out. Jan van der Heyde just goes across the line to start another lap. Joonas Raivio is just up in towards the cutting now. After going along the straight there, Alex Buncombe still out on track, and we've got a huge gaggle of cars coming up that mountain straight just after Hell Corner here, so they're going to have to get themselves sorted out with 7 minutes left to go in qualifying. Just looking through the field here, again, I still think it is Cammy Sturch that is your fastest AM driver at the moment in 13th place right now, 2:03, and looks to be quite comfortable in pole position for the AM class.
I think one of the big things here is that over the first 3 races, you know, Cammy Sturch, I think, is the only driver, if memory serves me correctly, out of the entire field, irrespective of Pro and AM, that has actually scored a podium every single race. And we saw that battle between her and also Bradley Brockes at Hockenheim 2 weeks ago. If Cammy had actually taken second behind Stuart Ross French, she would have been leading the championship coming into this round. But the good thing is that it's one thing to be chased, but you've got less pressure when you're doing the chasing. You know that you've got to put it all on the line and go for it.
All or nothing. That's what happens in qualifying. You've got nothing to lose here, and everything to gain when it comes up towards the race. It's obviously going to be a very, very different mentality, Alex, when it comes into the race. I think you're going to see drivers dropping down probably to the high 201s, low 202s in terms of race pace. But certainly with qualifying just now, I think we might see a 2:05 at the peak of this.
Yeah, so we're with Bobby Trundley at the moment behind the wheel of the 68 McLaren 720S GT3, currently running P18, and a little bit of overcorrection there for Bobby Trundley. He's trying to just wrestle it by the scruff of the neck. So it's not easy around here, as you can just see how close he's actually getting to these walls. And that was a bit too close for comfort there on the left-hand side. And that would have been going through Reed Park, and a little bit. Oh yeah, that's you can just see there. He's pushing like crazy to try and get the car turned in, get it to rotate, and that would have been through towards Solman that he would have had that slight clash with the wall there. But nevertheless, he's still trying to do his level best.
It's it's not the best, is it? I mean, grinding yourself against the wall here at Mount Panorama. There's certainly faster ways to get yourself around the track, but this is it now. 4.5 minutes left to go. It's go time. These drivers are not going to get another chance right now. They've got to get going. They've got to get on their hot lap, or they've got to go out on their out lap and get it started now, because 4 minutes left to go. There's not long left.
Well, everyone at Team BRIT is very, very interested, including my good buddy Matty Streets, and he's got it on the. He's shown me a picture via Facebook Messenger. He's got it on the TV and everything. He's supporting the boys at eTeam BRIT, Sandro Ballesteros and Bradley Brockes. So 4 minutes to go in the session, and the top four covered by less than 2 tenths. David Simon, who's one of our competitors this evening, he said, I'm sweating already and it's just quali. Wait until we get going. We go green, green, green for 60 minutes, my friend. Cami Sturch still doing her level best, as some of the drivers now starting to make their way out, and they'll have a chance. They get out of the pit lane now, which one of the Corvettes is doing. That's one of the Cadan Casual Apex cars. They'll have the opportunity of doing an out lap and then doing a hot lap. And the ice cream jokes have just been started in the Discord chat, I think, between some private messaging towards myself as well. And you can definitely tell who that's in reference to, David.
I'm making absolutely no comment whatsoever.
Exactly. You don't need to worry about that. I'll take that one from here. But yeah, I mean, just to see that everyone's really, really pushing hard. Von der Heyde really trying to push hard. He's gone up by 11 thousandths in the first sector. He's now going through. Look, did you see that? All four wheels off the air, off the tarmac, going through the dipper, and then heading into Forest Elbow. Craziness, but I mean, Von der Heyde lost about what was it, just over half a tenth through sector 2, and now he's heading his way down towards the chase, formerly known at one point as the Caltex chase. Caltex was the sponsor of Craig Lowndes in his last tenure in what was formerly known as Virgin Australia Supercars. Now they're being sponsored by Repco, and this is where it's going to get rather interesting. That you got a couple of the cars there. So Von der Heyde actually aborted that lap as Stuart Ross French has a moment, and that left-hand side of that car definitely got a good old whack there, didn't it?
Ouch, ouch, ouch. Again, this is it. There's not going to be any time to get an outlap done and get that sorted. So that is Stuart Ross French's qualifying essentially done and dusted with 2 minutes left to go. We saw Matt Richards finishing a lap and not quite improving. Did do a 2 minute .761, so I mean he's still very, very close to the pace that he's got there, but just had enough time to sneak back out. And I think that was Jack Nicholls getting himself up into the top 10 there. 8th place now, 202.227. That's good enough for 8th place, and a great debut for Jack Nicholls. And Jenson Button in 6th place. I'm not going to lie. This is a proper awesome moment to actually be commentating on the former F1 world champion. It's it's a bit humbling, isn't it? And just watching again, as I'm very fortunate to be able to switch between any of the drivers thanks to Mikey out at Simply Race. I was watching Jenson Button there, deciding that the dipper was and Skyline was optional there, just going straight over Skyline and aborting that lap. So that is going to be his lap done and dusted.
Well, Daniel Heyde sitting on the sidelines, he's cheering on his good buddy Grant Lyman and is saying, well, get that AM pole, bud. I'm sure he's doing his absolute best, but Cami Sturch at the moment is still leading that, if memory serves me correctly. So we're into the last dying moments as David Simon goes completely Tokyo drift through Forest Elbow, but manages to get the car back out on track, and then that is his last run done. Grant Lyman started his final qualifying lap of the session with about 17 or 18 seconds on the clock remaining. He's going up Mountain Straight. There is Alex Buncombe up by nearly a tenth. He's gone purple in sector number 2 as the checkered flag is out to conclude qualifying for round 4. Let's see if Buncombe can get any closer to those up front. He does not improve. He stays 4th. Grant Lyman, in the meantime, he's coming up the hill. Oh! throttle proper sideways, and that is no way to end your qualifying session. Jan van der Heyde now coming up the hill. Let's see if he can get the upper hand on Matt Richards. And I think let's just keep with him for a moment, because the drivers are really, really pushing. Those are out there at the moment. Van der Heyde clashes into the wall, but keeps the throttle planted in. He's going to still keep it stuck in. Yeah, he's done,
I think. Yeah, he pulls off to the left-hand side. He's going to bin that lap there, Alex.
Yeah, so Matt Richards looks to be good for 2 for 2.
Oh, purple in sector 1. Oh, Matt Richards is absolutely on it right now, and he's the only man on track.
Yeah, that's by the narrowest of margins. So he clashes with the wall through Forest Elbow, kicks up a bit of dust from the right rear tyre going onto Conrod Straight, and he's lost an absolute handful of time. That's it, done and dusted. So it looks like your pole sisters from round 4 here at Mount Panorama. It is Matt Richards that leads the way at the top of the tree here at the mountain in Pro. So Matt Richards by 54 thousandths of a second from Zansho Simsport's Jan van der Heyde. Joonas Raivio from Finland rounds out the top 3 ahead of our top invitational driver, Alex Buncombe in the Rocket eSports 36 Corvette, just under 2/10 off of Matt Richards. Then Sido Weijer in the number 26 Corvette from Zansho Simsport, 0.718 of a second, but off of pole ahead of Jensen Button from Rocket eSports in the 24. Sebastian Prio, good effort from him, 1.25 seconds off of pole in 7th position ahead of Jack Nicholls. Scott Mitchell, that's a great debut for the Kings Racing pairing there, 8th and 9th on the grid respectively. Martin Buchan rounds out the top 10 in the number 35. Christian Kelly in 11th ahead of Louis Stewart. Cammy Sturch secures pole position in AM by 38 thousandths of a second. Grant Lyman was that close to getting AM in pole position in AM, but then you look at it even further, 55 thousandths separate 13th to 15th position. Ben Brown rounds out the top 16. Bobby Trundley is 17th, but will start 22nd because he has a 5-place grid penalty for not attending driver's briefing. So that means that Haithel Abdelkader will start 17th ahead of David Simon. Chris Wilson will start in 19th position. Then you've got Bradley Brockies, Luke Mitchell, Dan Blake, Sandro Ballesteros, Ben Hetherington, Max Spooner, Ed Straw, and David Taylor Piggott. His 5-place grid penalty actually gets nullified, even though he is at the back of the grid. But what a qualifying session here at Mount Panorama, David.
I'm excited. That was my excited noise there. Sorry, just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, what a qualifying session. What a way to set ourselves up. I mean, you've got Matt Richards, Jan van der Heyde, Joonas Raivio right at the front. Alex Buncombe as well. I think it's going to be a bit of a dark horse. Then we've got the new guys, Jensen Button, Sebastian Prio, not quite a new guy, but you get my drift. Jack Nicholls as well. Yeah, this is... I'm genuinely very, very excited right now.
I think you've taken the words right out of my mouth. So effectively, yeah, it's just one of those things because, you know, at the end of the day, these drivers are really going to have to watch their P's and Q's this evening, because one slip up and it can all go south rather quickly.
Right, let's do it. Who do we think? Who is the Alex Goldschmidt award going to tonight? Who do we think is, or rather, who do you think is going to win tonight?
I'm thinking it might be one of the invitationals.
Oh, that's a good shout.
I'm not going to say who though, because it could be any one of them. It could be any one of them. But I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. Just keep your eyes on Jack Nicholls and Scott Mitchell. Because they're in the 650Ss. They seem to be a little bit more planted than 720s. So I think that they might have done a strategically good car choice.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I can see that. For me, I think Joonas Raivio is going to take this one tonight. Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde very, very fast. I go back to last season though, where we saw Matt Richards dominating and really being the architect of his own downfall. So we've seen what he's like in the leads. If he can hold on to it, he's got a strong chance. But I do think Joonas Raivio's got the brains, got the talent to get things done. So let's see what he can do.
Okay, well, one of the new features, obviously, with the new safety car introduction from round 4 onwards, we will have the safety car will be leading the field on the formation lap. So I will have a catch up with Team BRIT's Andy Tucker once we get the formation lap underway. 60 minutes of racing here at Mount Panorama. Mandatory pit stop, 30 seconds per driver. They do have to change tyres. And it is between the when 20 minutes have elapsed on the time, then they can start going into the pit lane, and then it closes with 20 minutes to go. If you do not pit for the minimum time, you get an automatic post-race 60-second penalty added to your time. We did see that caught out a few people in Season 1, but the drivers now really getting that button down, and that's going to be one of the key points, because you said strategy, David. The pit stops, they're going to be ultra important as well.
Yeah, not just for when they're taken, for how long they're taken, and for watching themselves on that entry. It's a very, very fast entry into pit lane, so they need to make sure they get that pit limiter smacked on right at the best possible time for themselves, not lose themselves any more time than they absolutely need to, but they definitely don't want to get a penalty for speeding in pit lane either. That is going to be absolute curtains for any chances tonight.
Yeah, so we are just awaiting for when the formation lap will get underway ahead of 60 minutes of racing here at Mount Panorama for round 4 of Season 2 of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. So we've got 4 more rounds after this. David, out of the circuits we've got coming, which ones are really exciting you, apart from Le Mans, of course?
Oh, come on, you've just totally taken away my my favourite one. It's difficult because obviously we've had such a great season so far. Looking forward, I don't know. Le Mans is definitely my favourite one out of them all, and I don't think it's fair that you should take that one away from me.
Well, I just had to. I had to steal your thunder, didn't I? But it is what it is. You know, Le Mans, you can't say anything more iconic than the Circuit de la South. You know,
if I'm going to be pushed, I would probably say, for me, it's either Monza or Imola. Imola is an amazing track, but I'm probably going to go with Monza, because is it even GT3 racing if you don't have a Turn 1 pileup?
Yeah, very, very true indeed. It's just one of those things that you sort of have to go with it and see how it all happens. Yeah, I'd probably be saying the same thing as yourself. I think Monza for pure outright brute speed, but then Imola, you've got that combination. You've got a very technical, you've got a very demanding track as well. So that's where it could make all the difference, like here at Mount Panorama. I mean, who are you all rooting out there for tonight? We've seen quite a few people already give their thoughts on that. There's quite a few supporters out there. So a big thank you to everyone that's watching, not just on the eTeam BRIT Facebook page. We're also broadcasting live on multiple streams, including our official Twitch channel, the Simply Race Twitch and YouTube channels there as well. And then we've also got Let's Race and Downforce Racing on. So effectively, it's going to be rather interesting how we do get how many people are watching at this particular moment. So we will find out watching what is going to happen as well. Good evening to fellow commentator Lewis McGlade. Hope you're keeping well. And hopefully we're going to have some great action over the next 60 minutes or so. We will get a word with Andy Tucker very, very shortly. Actually, you know what? I'm going to see. I'm going to see if I can grab him. Back in a second, David.
Yeah. So he's. Okay. I think he needs all of his concentration right now to keep this field of baying hyenas in order. So we'll. Might be best leaving it for a little second.
I think probably until we've got the race underway, I'll try and see if we can collar him. But now this is where things are getting interesting. So let's have a look at the starting grid for round 4 here at Mount Panorama. Good evening, Josh Mercer, as well, giving Bobby Trunley a good old cheer there. So let's have a look at the grid. It seems to be that it will be Matt Richards that will lead the field in the 2x2 rolling start formation. It's going to be rather interesting, David. What are your thoughts about where I'm hoping they get past turn one? We've got Matt Richards starting from pole, Jan van der Heyde starting from second, Joonas Raivio in third position, and alongside him will be Alex Buchan. Then it's Sido Weijer, Jensen Button, and Sebastian Prio rounding out the top 7 positions. Then in 8th place we have Jack Nicholls, then it's Scott Mitchell, Martin Buchan and Christian Kelly. So Louis Stewart rounds out the top 12 ahead of pole sitter Cammy Sturch from Team Fordzilla. Grant Lyman on his debut will start behind the number 5. We've got the likes of Bobby Trunley, Ben Brown, Haytham Abdelkader and David Simon. As we make our way towards the bottom of the grid, Chris Wilson, Luke Mitchell, Bradley Brockies, Sandro Ballesteros. They round out the top 23 drivers. And then we got Dan Blake, Max Spooner, Ben Hetherington and David Taylor-Piggott rounding out the 27 cars that are set to compete, with Ed Straw just behind in the final grid position. So 14 rows, 28 drivers as the safety car makes its way through the chase before Andy Tucker will pull the car into the pit lane. The official Team BRIT safety car will start pulling over to the left-hand side to let the cars be released ahead of this evening's festivities. Right, now it's time to get things underway here in New South Wales in Australia. Round 4, eTeam BRIT GT Challenge Season 2 about to get underway. It is Richards and van der Heyde on the front row. We are about to go green and they are getting up to speed. It is lights out, they are off and racing, and already there was a bit of a clash into the wall for Cammy Sturch there as they now make their way through into Held Corner for the first time. So the drivers, the Stuart Ross French, definitely fancying an opportunity to go side by side with the radical of Cammy Sturch as they now make their way up to Mountain Straight. But David, very, very clean. I think a little bit of a touch on the wall for the left-hand side for Cammy Sturch, but that hasn't stopped her as bad as it thought. Oh, clash from behind. Now there was definitely a Team Fordzilla car that went into the back of Stuart Ross French and has ended up spinning sideways as a result.
You hate to see it, you hate to see it. I'm keeping an eye on the battle here. Now Alex Buchan has looks like just disappeared off of the timing screen just now, so I'll have to keep an eye on what has happened to him. Has he went into to pit lane there? Yeah, he has. Alex Buchan has had some sort of an absolute disaster and recovering now, so Buchan now down in about 27th place.
Okay, with the field covered by around about 23 seconds, they're now going through into the S's and into the Dipper for the first time. And there is Alex Buchan, who's down in 27th position at the moment.
Alex, I was about to say, while we've been distracted by that, van der Heyde has taken the lead from Matt Richards and has got a lead of, what's that, about 2 seconds over Matt Richards already.
And I've just seen another incident going through the Dipper, and that involved Max Spooner, who just clashed with the wall, and he's just collected Alex Buchan, I believe. So there's been a lot of carambolages, and we're only 1 minute in so far. But van der Heyde leading from Matt Richards, Joonas Raivio, and I think that looks to be Sido Weijer. So Jensen Button now up into 5th position. So yellow in sector 3. Van der Heyde sets the fastest lap with a 2-minute 4.909 and is fastest in sectors 1 and 2. Richards fastest in sector number 3. So it has all changed a little bit further down towards the back end of the field, 1.5 minutes into the race, and the top 3 covered by about a second. And this is where it's going to get rather interesting. Looks like there's a bit of a move a little bit further back. Behind, so that might have been between Weijer and Button, Von der Heyde having the initial advantage over Matt Richards. And Buncombe's already started to make some inroads already. He's got past David Simon from Team Fordzilla 2. So the race is now starting to get into some sort of rhythm here, David, but it's not quite easy yet.
No, it certainly isn't. Oh, David Taylor Piggott spins out, rejoins, and absolutely mullers David Simon, who was completely unsighted there. Huge damage there for David Simon. David Taylor Piggott gets re-going again, and that was on the, I think that was just turn 2, and you hate to see it.
Oh, yeah, I've just had a look at the screen. Alex Buncombe went absolutely charging through up the inside of Joonas Raivio. The back end stepped out, and the number 36 invitational entry lost the back end, and that's what caused him to drop all the way down towards the back end of the field. But now he's starting to make some sort of recovery. The next person on his list is Ed Straw, just up ahead. But it's getting rather interesting at the front of the field here, because the top 3 covered by about 1.1 seconds. Joonas Raivio, quickest in Sector 1. Jan van der Heyde, quickest in Sector 2. As we go on board with the number 69, currently leading the pro classification by just 2 points into this round. And Matt Richards puts in a 2-minute 2.940, but Joonas Raivio a 2-minute 2.749. So as there is Max Spooner coming out of the pit, so I think as a result of that, that would have been him pitting after that damage sustained after the clash with Alex Buncombe. And Alex Buncombe at the moment, let's just have a look now. This is the David Taylor Piggott. Oh, that was going through into Griffin's Bend. And he's lost the back end going through the corner. And that was Buncombe, I think, going through on that particular occasion. Oh, no, this is going to hurt. I'm just about to wince now. Simon's tried to look up the inside and gone clattering into it. And I wonder if that's going to be investigated, the rejoin.
Yeah, I think it very well might, just because it's poor awareness. It really is.
Moment for Richards.
Oh! Richards has a big moment, hits the back end off of the wall there, and he's just pushing too hard. This is exactly what I said pre-race. We know that Matt Richards is fast, but he just doesn't have the reliability. He seems to be his own worst enemy right now.
I think the thing is that we're only, 4.5 minutes into this race. The tyres probably might be coming up to temperature, but with the way that the undulations of the circuit, that can unsettle the car at any given moment. So Matt Richards is running with a slightly wounded car, but it's about how he manages around that situation. That's the biggest thing here, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and he just has to keep himself in the pound seats until we get to the final 15 minutes. Then you can drive the wheels off the thing, but you just have to keep yourself in contention. That's what the name of the game is right now, and you can see that he's dropped off the back of Joonas Raivio and Jan van der Heyde. We did have 2 3-car battles for first, second, and third, and fourth, fifth, sixth for Jan van der Heyde, Joonas Raivio, and Matt Richards, and then we had Sido Weijer, Jensen Button, and Sebastian Priaulx there. So that's really opened things up.
Big moment for Grant Lyman. That was off of the chase, and that has meant that Cammy Sturgis...
Oh, there's carnage! Absolute carnage. That was one of the...
There's more dramas behind. There's more dramas behind. I counted 5 cars, and that was coming out of the second part of the chase. One of the cars is Alex Buncombe again. Buncombe's in the walls again, unfortunately. Oh my goodness me!
And that's him. He's retired, and I think that was David Simon as well. He's retired from the race as well. He might have been the Fordzilla car that we saw getting caught up in that. That is an absolute disaster. We'll have to see what on earth happened there.
Right. Okay. Just keeping my eyes now. Just looking at the replay. This is Grant Lyman in the number 4 Cadan Casual Apex car. He was actually running in 17th position, and he loses the back end. Oh, Alex Buncombe completely unsighted, or is that Ben Hetherington? It was Ben Hetherington in the 4. Buncombe came up, closing speed was quite significant. Hetherington's lost the back end. Buncombe has just had nowhere to go, and he's been completely blindsided.
Yeah, you hate to see it. You absolutely hate to see it. But this is what happens at Bathurst with such a narrow track here, Alex.
Yeah, very much the case. And now that has put us down to what will be 26 out of 28 cars. And that is only just after 7 minutes of the race. So effectively, yeah, it's one of those things that these things can happen. Yeah, it was Ben Hetherington. My apologies there. That was the driver in front. So that was what happened, and yeah, that's a real shame for both Alex Buncombe and for David Simon. Max Spooner is a lap down off of the leaders. There is Cami Sturch currently in 17th position, and she has got King's Dealer Racing's Luke Mitchell in the 77 just up ahead. And at the moment, I see that Stuart Ross French, our resident Australian, is currently leading the AM class, and he's P12 on the road.
Yeah, he's having a fantastic race right now. He's getting stuck properly in on the tail end of Christian Kelly right now, who is up there. Excuse me, sorry, no, he's leading that group, isn't he? He's coming up to a back marker just now, and is that Max Spooner actually that's getting out the way there? But Ben Brown behind him. Ben's had a decent recovery to that terrible first lap. Oh, and Bobby Trundley, no! Bobby Trundley into the wall. You hate to see it. And that is Bobby Trundley surely out of the race. He's not getting that car going again. He was up in about 15th place, and that is a disaster for the Team Brit driver.
Yeah, so as we now are on board with Jenson Button, who's trying to close down on Sido Weijer. And this is going to be... You can just see the amount of correction, not just from the number 24, but also from the number 26. A big thank you to David Simon for correcting me as well. Thank you very much for that. Basically, that was what David Simon retired. Dan Blake was the other car involved in the 127. So it was Dan Blake that was the other car involved in that multi-car incident. 5 cars involved there. We're just over 10 minutes away from the pit stop window opening, and there is Max. Oh, Max Spooner trying to keep out of the way. Bobby Trundley tries to go past, and the front end. Yeah, so yeah, Max Spooner should have really. I think he was getting out of the way anyhow, and the biggest thing was the rates of closing from Bobby Trundley. I think maybe just caught him out unawares, and. Max Spooner's rear wing absolutely flew off there, and then Trundley's spun out to the outside of Griffin's Bend. But in the meantime, there are definitely battles intensifying, not just between the top 3, but then the battle for 4th position as Jenson Button has closed up to within 4/10 as the car literally launches 4 wheels up into the air, going down part of the mountain straight into Griffin's Bend, and he's really closing on him. So yeah, this is getting really rather interesting right now, as we've got one of the McLaren 650Ss, and I'm just keeping an eye on who that might be. That is Scott Mitchell, and he's actually hustling Sebastian Priaulx. This is the battle for 6th position, and then Jack Nicholls rounding out the top 8, followed by Martin Buchan and Louis Stewart, who complete the top 10 at the moment, with as we've got a yellow in sector 1.
Oh no, that's David Pickett at the top of the top skyline, facing the wrong way again, and he's going to have to try and whip that car round, and I just hope it's not a repeat. He's driving up the circuit the wrong way.
Okay, so Dan Blake is in the pits. Bobby Trundley is also in the pits, so probably for repairing damage in that particular occasion. So Scott Mitchell getting a really good turn of pace. He's actually made very good run from Scott Mitchell, and there just in the background you can see about a second adrift is his teammate Jack Nicholls. So yeah, pretty good racing so far at the front of the field.
And the gap has brought itself right down as well. Joonas Raivio now properly on the tail of Jan van der Heyde here. So this is, I think this is possibly a move after they get through Hell Corner here. If Joonas Raivio can get the slipstream, this could be a potential move that we're away to see right here.
Yep, so the battle between Jan van der Heyde and Joonas Raivio just getting under. It's going to get under 0.3 of a second. Look how close he is now. Definitely in the toe here. And he's pulling towards the right-hand side. Battle for the lead well and truly on. Joonas Raivio up the inside of Jan van der Heyde. They were nearly side by side going through the apex there. This is going to allow Matt Richards to close up onto them. Contact! No, Raivio in the wall. Raivio in the wall. How did he hold on to that one? That was close, but I don't know how wounded that car is as a result of that clash.
Oh, that was awkward as anything. You saw that Jan van der Heyde just was not giving that position up. He was going to try and keep that nose in. Oh, and Jan van der Heyde clips the wall as well, and that scrubs off quite a lot of time. That's going to leave him very, very vulnerable to Matt Richards. I do wonder if Matt Richards is going to wait until the Conrad Straight to make a move on this, but he's definitely in the position to take that second place. And Jan van der Heyde has went from hero to proverbial zero in the space of a lap here at Bathurst.
Okay, just over 7 minutes until the pit stop window opens. Raivio now has a lead of over 1.1 seconds. Richards closing on van der Heyde on that particular occasion. We've had more retirements. David Taylor Pickett has retired. Max Spooner apparently has been disqualified. I'm just waiting for confirmation on the reasoning behind that. So we are down to 24 drivers in total. And here is a replay that we're going to see now. Oh, that was a hard hit on the right-hand side of that Corvette for Joonas Raivio. So he's got van der Heyde and also Richards in close proximity. And then we go up a little bit further. This is where it's going to get rather interesting. And yeah, this is going through Salmon and into McPhillamy. This is where you really need to be on your A game. And oh, he's gone through. That's going through into Skyline there, down into the S's. Just keep your eyes on this. He gets through the first part of it, through into the dipper, and I'm just waiting, just bracing myself on this particular occasion, and it's coming out. Is it coming out of Forest Elbow? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just so close. How hard these drivers are pushing, really are. It's incredible. And then this is where Richards seizes the day, goes towards the inside line through the first part of the chase and gets past van der Heyde. So that really has changed the dynamic of the top three positions so far.
It certainly has. That gap, he did break away. Joonas Raivio did break away a little bit, but that gap's now up well under a second. You can see Matt Richards is hustling that car to within an inch of its life right now, trying to catch back up to Joonas Raivio, and Jan van der Heyde getting dropped. Clips a little bit of the wall again, just a mere brush this time, but the ball is firmly in Matt Richards' court. He's definitely trying to catch back up, and Jensen Button has just dropped off a little bit from Sido Weijer. He was on the tail of Sido Weijer in that fourth place battle, but again just dropped off a little bit through that lap there. So interested to see how that one's going to develop. But Matt Richards now back onto the tail of Joonas Raivio. They're almost going to be side by side coming down in towards the final corner here, and this is an awesome drive from Matt Richards into Murray's Corner, and it's all going to be again on the mountain straight.
Okay, leaders come across the line. We'll now go into double figures for the first time this race. We're on lap number 10. You can just see, Raivio has a little bit of oversteer coming through Hell Corner, and that means that Matt Richards able to keep the foot planted to the floor. He's doing exactly what Raivio did to van der Heyde a couple of laps ago. So Matt Richards going through into Griffin's Bend now takes the lead of the race with about 44 minutes on the clock remaining. Sophie Faye saying good luck to Sandro Ballesteros at the moment, who's running in P18 at the moment.
The both of them were hit. That was Matt Richards just avoided Joonas Raivio. Joonas Raivio locked up the brakes, spun out, and almost clipped the back and took out Matt Richards. Matt survives it, but Joonas absolutely destroyed on that one, and he's still struggling to get around.
So the drivers really being tested here this evening. Obviously, those the two invitational drivers that we still have competing, Jenson Button and Sebastian Priaulx, will not score points. But this could be very, very interesting indeed, because now what this does, as Chris Wilson, and that's one of the eTeam BRIT cars having, and that might have been, I think that was either Bradley Brocchies or Sandro Ballesteros going toe-to-toe. Brocchies going into Griffin's Bend, and Brocchies lost the back end going through into Reed Park. Going through the cutting, he managed to catch it. So that car is going to be a little bit. So we're going to go to the replay, and this is where all the drama happened. And Raivio, he's gone through really at a big rate of speed. The back end stepped out to the right hand side. I don't know how Matt Richards survived that one, but he got the slightest of touches. But Joonas Raivio, I think he was just pushing the limits of adhesion, and the back end of the car just went, this is not going to happen.
But it just shows you, Alex, how easy and how unexpectedly out of nowhere these moments can happen. So that has blown a big hole in Joonas Raivio's race chances. Again, it's now going to be disaster recovery for him. He's got to think of the championship. What's the highest position that he can get into to recover some points right now? So we are just under 2 minutes away. Matt Richards leads ahead of Jan van der Heyde. Sido Weijer makes it a 2-3 for Zansho Simsport at the moment. Jenson Button, our lead invitational driver, ahead of Sebastian Priaulx. And look at the gap here. I think someone's got a sniff of a podium roundabout now. So Jenson Button closing up on Sido Weijer. So this could be rather interesting. The 26 from Zansho Simsport. Ahead of the 24 from Rocket eSports, and it's getting rather close, but I think the thing is, it is about conservation, and with the caliber of these drivers on this grid this evening, we are being treated to some really good showcases roundabout. Now there is Sandro Ballesteros, Steve Caffrey. You're wondering what his position is at the moment. Well, he's closing on Grant Lyman at the minute for 17th position on the road. So I'm just having a look at what's going on in terms of the top three in AM, David. Stuart Ross French is leading in 12th position on the road, ahead of Ben Brown from CAMSport Fire. Luke Mitchell is looking rather handy at the moment, P3 in the class, but P15 on the road. Joshua Massey says the beautiful sound of 600 brake horsepower V8s between 6 and 9,000 RPM. Very, very well put there, Josh Massey. So 30 seconds to go. The pit stop window will be open for 20 minutes alone. I've got to say, on that last point there you said about conservation perhaps being the name of the game, I can promise you 100% that's not in Jenson Button vocabulary tonight, because he is wringing every ounce of performance out of that car. I don't know if you caught it the last lap rounds, but he was right on the bumper of Sido Weijer as they ran up Mountain Straight. He jinked to the right hand side, thought better of it, and pulled right back out and lost a little bit of time because of that. But again, he's in the slipstream just now on the run up Mountain Straight, but he's going to have to do that work all over again. But you just watch him round the lap, Alex, and it's frightening to see the twitches and the bumps that this car does, and he just takes it all in his stride. Well, the pit stop window opened just under 30 seconds ago, and in that is Grant Lyman going in. He's taking the early opportunity to maybe go for a long second stint and maybe get the undercut on some drivers. So Sandro Ballesteros now up into what will be 16th position. So it looks like we've had a couple of drivers pit as well. I'm just keeping an eye. So Grant Lyman, Joonas Raivio. Raivio has decided to pit as well. I think that's a very sensible decision, because what he'll do is he'll get the damage repaired, and you can see his pit stop is over 40 seconds now. So I think he's doing, as you said, damage limitation, get the car repaired, get it out there, and just go for broke and see how much damage limitation he can exercise tonight. Because effectively what that means is Matt Richards will effectively, wherever Joonas Raivio finishes tonight, become our new championship leader. That is incredibly inspired for Joonas Raivio to jump into the pits because, let's face it, Alex, God knows what's going to happen in the next 40 minutes. He gets that pit stop out the way, he's got new boots on, he's got the damage done. We know he's got the pace to get himself up to the top 10 and into potentially the top 5. It's just going to be about knuckling down. But again, I cannot take my eyes off of this battle for third and fourth place now between Sido Weijer and Jenson Button.
Yeah, we do have another DNF in the form of Team BRIT's Bobby Trundley, unfortunately, so we are down to 23 cars as Haytham Abdelkader is closing on Ben Brown, it looks like, and that is Abdelkader into the wall on the right hand side going through the first part of the chase. He looked up the inside of Ben Brown and I think got himself a bit caught out, and that car, that Aston Martin, is now going to go into the pits. I think he knew that he'd go for it, but the Dutch driver not able to hang on to it through the chase, and just literally speared into the wall on the right hand side. And thank goodness it wasn't that far away from the pit lane entrance.
Now, interestingly, pace has completely fallen off the cliff here. We're doing consistent 204s and 205s, but Matt Richards 203.9. So yeah, he is absolutely on it still right now, and really enjoying this race. Alex, what do you think we've got in store then for the final 35 minutes?
You might want to ask me that in about 34 and a half minutes when we get onto the final lap, because I want it to just unfold in front of us. That's the beauty of these 60-minute races. It is a bit of endurance and it's a bit like, say, the DTM, where they run 55 minutes plus an additional lap with a mandatory pit stop. We're sort of running to effectively that kind of ethos. So these drivers are going absolutely flat chat, full pelt. And they're not giving any quarter at all. But one of the drivers that I am really impressed with at the moment, and he's really come good here, our resident Aussie, and he's on screen at the moment, chasing down Louis Stuart Ross French in the Red Shell Racing number 27 McLaren 720S. And obviously that real racing experience around here, he'll know about the trials and tribulations that you can suffer. So,
wow. Alex, I'm just letting you in on a little secret here. I've just watched the most incredible battle between Sido Weijer and Jenson Button. They've been side by side for 4 corners, and Sido Weijer locks up, goes into Hell's corner and hands it on a plate to Jenson Button. Jenson Button moves up to take that podium spot in 3rd place, but we really could do with get a replay of that. That all started back on the run down Conrod Straight, Alex, in towards the chase. Jenson Button just absolutely lit up the brakes around the outside of Sido Weijer. Incredible stuff here.
And that meant your voice went up a couple of octaves. And
I was so excited, I can't help it. My voice broke there, I'm sorry.
Unbridled passion, my friend. Unbridled passion there. But yeah, I mean, you could see it was building between Sido Weijer, who was running up into 3rd place. Oh, Weijer loses the back end ever so slightly, trying to keep the pace with Jenson Button there. So one of our invitational drivers now sitting in P3. Matt Richards now has a comfortable lead over Jan van der Heyde, but I don't think Sido Weijer is going to let this go, as he will start trying to wind up the wick on that Corvette and try and chase down Jenson Button. But in the meantime, this is going to allow Sebastian Priaulx. Now we're going to have a look at this move. Button gets the perfect slipstream going into the first part of the chase. And he just absolutely sends it. He does a Danny Rick here at Mount Panorama. They go side by side up the inside through the second part of the chase. And Weijer touches the grass, and then Button is going to do, I think he's going to try and, he wouldn't have the time for the old switcheroo, but he managed to keep it side by side, kept the throttle planted in. Weijer gave him enough racing room, enough racing respect, and then Button just got a really good tight apex, and that allowed Sido Weijer to get to lose out on 3rd position, handing that on a silver platter to Jenson Button.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And to be fair as well, for the amount of respect shown by Sido Weijer and Jenson Button, the awareness that they had, and believe it or not, Jenson Button is our new race leader.
Yeah, because Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde have pitted, as has Jack Nicholls from Kings Racing. So the order starting to shift around in the pit stop window phase. We have about 13 and a half minutes of that to go. So when we have 20 minutes remaining, good to see our good buddy, Mr. Edward Porter. Good evening, sir. Hope you're keeping well. So in many respects, yeah, I mean, the good thing is that it's about now what Jensen does to just keep that car on the black stuff. And,
oh my goodness me, pit exit was absolutely manic, just keeping you updated on that one. Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde had a complete drag race to get out of pit lane there, and I've got no idea who they've got up in the middle of there. I think that's actually Louis Stewart that's unfortunately caught up in that little battle there. Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde, like bouncers at a nightclub, absolutely manhandling Louis Stewart out of the way there, and he'll thankfully live to tell the tale another day. But these two are just leaving nothing on the table tonight.
Yep, it's all being left on the on that kind of sort of mentality of trying to get out of the pit lane and get the undercut, and that's where it's going to really help. I mean, you've now got two of our invitational drivers in the top three because of the result of Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde pitting. Sido Weijer is now in second. So joining Jensen Button in the top three is Sebastian Priaulx. So in many respects, that's going to be really good. There's also, we've had, hang on a second, Stuart Ross French has DNF'd just before the halfway point. So that is another driver. Luke Mitchell, I think, has also DNF'd as well. So they are dropping like flies. This is becoming a race of survival and also attrition at the same time.
You could almost say it's an endurance race. I've been waiting to drop that one in. Seb Priaulx jumps into the pits then, and he's on his way out. Scott Mitchell as well, and that leaves pretty much Jensen Button as I think the only man in the top five. Maybe Martin Buchan still to pit just now. But yeah, that's going to bring things all the way back then to Jan van der Heyde and Matt Richards. So what that means then is that Jan van der Heyde has done Matt Richards in the pits.
Well, stranger things have happened as Chris Wilson battling away, and that is with Jack Nicholls. So that is 14th and 15th respectively. Bradley Brockies now pulls into the pits as we're about to hit the halfway point in the official pit stop window here for round 4 of the second season of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. A big thank you to you all for watching. Feel free to follow eTeam BRIT on the relevant social media channels, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And a big thank you to all of you joining us and also interacting with us via our streams. So Bradley Brockies in the pits at the moment. So we are down to what I count as 21 cars. I'm not going to predict how many cars might make it to the end of this race, but I think with some of the drivers really pushing hard. Good evening to Ross McGregor, one of our season 1 drivers from Marlow Watch Company Racing, when he was alongside good fellow countryman to himself, and also to David, of course, Mr. John Monroe, the young Glaswegian. 30 minutes on the clock, still to go, halfway through the pit stop window. So Bradley Brockies is just about to come out of the pits. And at the moment, Jensen Button has a lead of about 11. Well, Mitchell's just gone into the pits. So has Seb Priaulx. So Jensen Button, he's doing a long first stint. Martin Buchan's now gone into the pits. So, yeah, I think now that he's got a bit of air, he's got a bit of breathing space, he can now start to stretch the legs of that car.
Yeah, and that's it. We've seen that there, 204s consistently for Jensen Button, but it's all going to be about your leaders who are making their way through the field. Again, Jan van der Heyde and Matt Richards right now. What I'm curious to see, Alex, I'll be honest with you, is Joonas Raivio, your championship leader, because the pace that he's got right now is unlike anybody that is in the next 5 cars in front of him. So I'll be very surprised if Joonas Raivio does not finish this race in the top 5.
Yeah, I think you could be right there. A lot of drivers going into the pits. So a lot of drivers now, because there's one of the other things that we haven't really talked about here is the fuel management and the tyre conservation. Now, Bathurst, with its the fact that it's normally a public road, it has a lot of unique characteristics. And when you're going through Reed Park, Silman, McPhillamy, those tyres are literally getting tortured. The sidewalls are screeching to high heaven, screaming mercy. And when you're doing that, you're carrying momentum through certain corners, like Christian Kelly's doing through the S's and through the Dipper. It's consistent lateral sideways motion, and the tyres are being tortured. How much can that play to your strategy here, David?
I think it will massively, but the question about that, Alex, is whether or not these drivers have done enough practice time to understand that and factor that into their strategies. Because I know for a fact some of these drivers, they'll maybe do 5-10 laps to make sure they're okay with the circuit, and then that's it. Whereas some of the other drivers will do maybe 30, 40, 50 laps to really understand the cars and to really be able to dial those strategies into the best possible degree. So again, it's just going to be who's done the most practice. That's what it's going to come down to. Jenson Button down into pits, but I've got to be honest, this battle for the lead now is kicking off massively between Jan van der Heyde and Matt Richards right now, Alex.
Yeah, Matt Richards puts in a 2-minute 2.156. So on fresher tyres, that car is going to be lighting up the timing screens purple. He was purple in Sector 1 by quite a considerable margin on van der Heyde by about 1.2 seconds. And Richards looking... Don't try and go around the outside of Griffin's Bends, please, Matt Richards. You have, and he's...
Wow.
He's going to get
that didn't just happen, did it?
That didn't just happen. I might have to do a double take on that one.
Come
he has got past him. Move of the
that
evening,
is
Matt Richards.
Outrageous, Alex.
That was, you know what? I think he knew where to place that car. He just went. He just thought, yeah. I don't think he knows it can happen. I think they're good enough to have enough respect for each other. They do compete quite, on other championship platforms, like I've mentioned a bit earlier on in the broadcast. But Matt Richards, that was just complete. Now there's a bit of a moment for Jan van der Heyde going through into Skyline. So that's going to lose him more time to Matt Richards. And the gap now is about 1.3 seconds. So Richards really starting to try and maintain what will be the new championship lead this evening going into the second half of the season. Now, Matt Richards, let's be honest, in Season 1, he was the man to beat. Again, he's the man to beat in Season 2, but he's had a bigger bullseye put on the back of his bumper on that Corvette, and everyone has tried to take a swing at him in the first couple of rounds, most significantly Joonas Raivio. Raivio had his number, but then at Hockenheim, Richards took pole, he took fastest lap, and he took the race victory. So tonight, he wants to make sure that going into Adelaide in a couple of weeks, he's got a bit more of an advantage, but that will still help Rocket eSports in terms of the team's championship overall.
Certainly will, with 25 minutes left to go in round 4 here. Matt Richards, just going back to that overtake, I'm still stunned by the sheer audacity to go round the outside of Quarry Bends is just incredible. But Jan van der Heyde was incredibly defensive on the mountain straight there, moved over very early to the right-hand side. So therefore, Matt Richards just had the pace, and he knew that all he had to do was just outbrake him and just drift that car around. And, braking that car, trail braking is the word I was actually looking for there, found it. That can gain you so much time around this circuit, but you have to have the car set up underneath you. You have to have the trust and the ability to do that. And very quickly, Matt Richards is going to be all over Christian Kelly like a very, very bad thing.
Okay, so we've got just over 4 minutes to go until the pit stop window is closed, and Christian Kelly is the leader at the moment. So here is now we're going to see it from a different angle. Big thank you to Mike Yao from Simply Race. He just literally, he did not even drift. That car was in complete control, courtesy of Matt Richards, going around the outside of Griffin's Bend. and then he made it through by the cutting before they go through quarry. Richards just absolutely knew where to plant that car and had complete confidence in the car and in his own abilities. That just shows you the nature of how competitive sim racing really is. And what a great job by him.
It was wild stuff, and I'll actually say this right now, that's already up there with one of the overtakes of the season. Very, very strong contender for overtake of the season, and rightfully so. Great bit of moving from Matt Richards there, and to be honest, look at the gap he's already got. That's about, 1.2 seconds that he's got over Jan van der Heyde, actually 1.6 right now, so it's good. However, I still return to the point, Matt Richards is Matt Richards' own worst enemy. He's got 23 minutes and he needs to just knuckle down and get going with this. No mistakes whatsoever.
Okay, Christian Kelly has now pitted. He dropped behind Matt Richards and Jan van der Heyde. So that means that Sido Weijer now will move up into third place. And that, I think, will mean that Jenson Button will now take fourth as a result of that. Now, I'm just keeping an eye on the times on the laps between Sido Weijer and Jenson Button. Now, considering the fact that Jenson actually did close and pass Sido Weijer out on the circuit, and in both in the second and the third sectors, he was quicker than Sido Weijer in the 26. So that gap, I think, with the pace that Jenson Button has got at the moment, it is coming down quite significantly. Yeah,
and it'll come down faster as well, but I think Jenson's hurt himself on the strategy that he did, because he's doing really fast times now, but while he was staying out, he was doing high 204s, and I think Sido's just done him on the undercut, got the fueling, got the earlier stop done, and now it leaves the ball back in Jenson's court, and I'll tell you what, he's more than capable of doing it right now. This is awesome. I've not actually had the pleasure of watching Jenson in a sim race before, and the way he is hustling that car, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Again, I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to pick whatever car I want to have a look at, and I'm watching Jenson just throw the car around, and we use that term quite a lot. And just the way that he absolutely throws the car around and keeps in control. You see other drivers doing it and they lose bucket loads of time, Alex, and he's actually faster driving this way.
Yeah, well, the thing is, did you just notice Ed Straw's pit lane entrance just then?
I didn't, buddy.
Bumping over the curbs. But the biggest thing is, for the first time this season, I think we're going to have our first driver to not make it into the pits before 20 minutes are up, because Sandro Ballesteros, with 1 minute and 45 to go before the pit stop window closed, went past the pit lane. And that's the first one of this season. Obviously, for those that did watch season 1, we had Joey Hollock from Drillers eSports coming foul of that twice, most notably at the Le Mans double points midway point of the season. So we've literally, everyone else I have seen that everyone else has made at least one pit stop. Ed Straw timed it pretty well there, and he'll get out and make some moves up the order. We're down to 21 competitors, the last of which is Team Fordzilla 2's Dan Blake. So it has really changed quite a bit, because the AM Championship is getting even closer, because now leading the class with 20 minutes to go, the pit stop window is closed. Pit stop window officially closed here on round 4. Ben Brown now leading the AM class, and he's got a 20-second advantage on this. I just want to have official confirmation from race control to make sure that we have got everyone pitted. So sometimes the timing does always throw a bit of a curveball, but I don't know. Is it according to your timing, David, that Sandro Ballesteros has officially pitted?
I'm just checking here. It's not telling me. Let me just expand it. No, it's not. Oh no, he did pit on lap 18.
Lap 18.
at least he's done a 3:03 lap. Yeah, because he was 1 minute 43.
Okay.
Yeah, he did lap 17. Sorry, Alex, lap 17.
Yeah,
So
wonders of modern technology. So I've just had that confirmed by Series Race Director 2. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, in many respects, it's just sometimes it's always best to just double check and make sure that everything is every T is crossed, every I is dotted, as there's a little bit of a clatter into the wall there, and that was Grant Lyman, who's actually just ahead of Sandro Ballesteros. So
the pair of them again, just straight into the walls there. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be too good to the car. Grant Lyman's car must be absolutely destroyed by now.
Yeah, he's just lost 2 positions. And Sandro Ballesteros is quickly coming under fire from teammate Bradley Brockes, and just behind them is Jack Nicholls. So this is going to be rather interesting, as they're going to have to watch themselves at the top part of the S's, and the Dipper Race Control are keeping their keen eyes on that quite a lot. And it looks like the lead has changed. So Jan van der Heyde has now got past Matt Richards, and the gap between them is just over half a second. Jenson Button, in the meantime, trying to close up on Sido Weijer. The gap between them is around about 7 or so seconds. So, and there is Sandro Ballesteros. That car looks to be a little bit damaged there, I think, after that slight clash with the wall, and he's let Bradley Brockes go past. And Jack Nicholls, in the meantime, has got past the pair of them, so Nicholls up into 15th position. We've got just 17 and a quarter minutes still to go. There's still plenty to play for here, though, David.
There certainly is. Just on that subject of Sandro Ballesteros' car, I think that's... I think We Buy Any Car are going to struggle to have any interest in that thing after the amount of scrapes that he's had in it. But look, at the end of the day, every single race in this championship is a learning experience for these young drivers. Alex, you've said that on many times as well. It's about getting that experience, getting the ability to just knuckle down and get through it. And who knows what will happen in the next 15 minutes. You could have 3 or 4 retirements in front of you and get more points than you ever imagined at this point. So yeah, it's just about keeping the head down and keeping on with it. Christian Kelly doing the fastest lap for himself, doing a personal best 2:05.279 on lap number 21. So yeah, a bit late in the day, but a decent effort for him.
Yeah, very much the case. As we've got a yellow in Sector 3 ever so briefly. Matt Richards nearly having a slight moment there, but both he and Jan van der Heyde getting past one of the back markers a little bit further down the order as they now make their way up towards Skyline.
Alex,
yes.
I hate to break this to you, but after all of that damage that was incurred to the car, Grant Lyman still hasn't pitted. He drove past the pits and is still treating the hills of Mount Panorama like a pinball machine.
Well, you might need to ask the Who if they make a mean pinball, don't they? There you go.
This is why I love working with you, Alex. Just all the top quality banter gets brought out.
Well, there we go. You can't say fairer than that. So we're literally coming into the final quarter of this race. And we're now with Sebastian Priaulx in the 46 invitational entry, currently running in P6 at the moment. And he is closing on Martin Buchan. So for those watching, if you're seeing the comments, who is your driver of the race so far? We'd like to hear from you on that. As Sebastian Priaulx trying to do his level best. He's had a good run this evening here at Mount Panorama. So a lot of drivers trying to do their level best. And the votes are already starting to come in. There's one for Jenson Button already. Thank you, Dan Heyde. As now Priaulx is about 9/10 of a second behind Martin Buchan, and between the pair of them, Priaulx has actually been faster by over 1/10 of a second in the first 2 sectors. As I think that might be Grant Lyman that's just going into the pits, possibly.
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely spot on. Great eyes there, Alex.
Well, I had to make a hazard a guess because I know that Ben Hetherington is a little bit further back behind. He's down in 20th position, so Grant Lyman will be repairing some, affecting a bit of TLC repairs to that Corvette. So Yeah, another vote courtesy of Edward Porter for Jenson Button as we go on board with the 46 Corvette of Sebastian Priaulx. And he's had a really good run this time around, hasn't he?
He certainly has. He's kept himself out of bother. We've seen Sebastian Priaulx really struggling with, I don't want to say discipline, but just keeping himself out of other people's accidents through the first half of the season. This race has been absolutely spectacular for him. Granted, it's 6th place at the moment, but he's rapidly catching on to the back of Martin Buchan. Martin Buchan, again, has had a blinding race because, as we said, he's normally on pace with Christian Kelly, who is down in 9th place, but he's having a proper race right now. So really happy to see him up in 5th place, and that's absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he is a fellow Scot, among the Scots.
Well, you can't say fairer than that, David, and I doff my cap to thee for doing that. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are involved within the... it's not just those people that work hard behind the scenes, but also the support networks, especially, and a big thank you to Joshua Massey. I do know about Sandro's dad, Antonio, or Tony, as he's more commonly known to me, for posting this in his Facebook page. Yep. The good thing is that there has been a lot of sharing. Good to hear that Glenn Freeman from the race is also watching from the virtual pit wall and doing some tweets as well. So Glenn, good to have you with us. 12 minutes and 20 seconds still to go, and it's getting rather interesting. Jan van der Heyde looking to make the difference here this evening. Matt Richards in 2nd, Sido Weijer in 3rd, Jenson Button, Martin Buchan, Sebastian Priaulx, Scott Mitchell, Joonas Raivio up into 8th position now. Is only 2.3 seconds away. No, make that 1.4 seconds away from Scott Mitchell. Christian Kelly and Louis Stewart round out the top 10. Ben Brown leads the AM category in 11th, ahead of Cammy Sturch. So that looks to be a pretty secure 1-2 for those particular drivers respectively, and that will be a clean sweep of podiums for Cammy Sturch in all 4 races this season so far. So a great job by the Team Fordzilla 1 driver. Haytham Abdelkader in the 99 Aston Martin in 13th, ahead of Chris Wilson. Jack Nichols rounding out the overall top 15. Bradley Brockes, Sandro Ballesteros, Ed Straw, Ben Hetherington, Grant Lyman and Dan Blake are the ones that actually round out the 21 drivers. We have unfortunately had a variety of drivers either DNF'd or out of the race. 7 DNFs and also 1 disqualification. So there are a lot of drivers that are really pushing the envelope, and Sebastian Priaulx was doing that just then, going through the dipper. I think the left rear nearly tagged the wall on the left-hand side, but he managed to get through there quite easily.
Alex, I'll be honest with you, I thought with the pace that Seb Priaulx had over Martin Buchan that it was going to be very easy to make that stick. With 10 minutes left to go, I'm now rethinking that, because Martin Buchan was actually faster that last lap round by a 10th, and yeah, it's changing quite rapidly, especially with Joonas Raivio. I don't think he's going to make any progress now over 8th place now, because he's 2 seconds behind Scott Mitchell, and he's not actually gaining on Scott Mitchell right now. So again, we're coming to that point where the tyres are starting to run out of any sort of grip or traction, and they're going to have to manage it for the next 10 minutes.
Okay, as we now see Martin Buchan go through Hell's Corner, 10 minutes to go here at Mount Panorama for round 4 of the season. And this is where it's going to get rather interesting as to who is going to conserve their tyres. Have they put enough fuel? Are they going to have to lift and coast through certain parts of the circuit? We don't know what any of the driver's strategies are in any way, shape or form. But look, Martin Buchan, that back end of that 720S went a bit oversteery to the left-hand side, and it allowed Sebastian Priaulx again to close up once more, and that could be the fact that we could see. We've also had a comment for the race. This race has flown by. We'd vote for one of our guys as driver of the day, but they've all spun or shunted at some point. Nice to hear a little bit of honesty there, wouldn't you say, David?
I'm waiting for the typo and asterisk bean to say they've been shunted at some point. But yeah, look, they've had an awesome race. They can hold their heads up very, very high. I really do look forward to actually seeing some of them back here for future races. Jack Nicholls, obviously, we know he's a dark horse. He's great behind the scenes on the mic anyway, but he's a dab hand behind the wheel on the sim as well. But again, Jensen Button for me is massively, massively stood out. But again, hope to see the rest of the race team drivers back sometime soon.
Yeah, Joshua Massey has just asked me an interesting question, which I can probably pretty much answer. Is there a junior eTeam BRIT team or a junior Team BRIT team? Well, we have at eTeam BRIT, there are trial drivers and there are fully fledged drivers. There is a racing academy for Team BRIT. So you can actually go to teambrit.co.uk. That's their official website. And you can also go to eteambrit.co.uk for the eTeam BRIT official website as well, to find out more information about how you can find out about one of the most inspirational teams within motorsport that has been featured on multiple channels, including Sky Sports F1, amongst others. Obviously, for those that know about Neris Piers, one of our recent new drivers who raced in Brit Car alongside Abby Eaton. Rachel Brooks from Sky Sports F1 was there in October, where Neris on debut, along with Abby Eaton, took a podium. So there are so many great inspirational people that work within eTeam BRIT and Team BRIT as such. And yes, James Hall, the sporting manager for eTeam BRIT, he said, I am biased. Sandro Ballesteros or Bradley Brockies for driver of the day. Well, there's quite a lot still to go. 7 minutes remaining, and this battle between Sebastian Priaulx and Martin Buchan. I think Buchan's feeling the heat right now, isn't he?
He certainly is, and another man feeling the heat right now, Alex, is Scott Mitchell, because Joonas Raivio has actually closed up. But back to Martin Buchan and Seb Priaulx. Again, it's one thing catching him, but can he actually get past him? And that is going to be one of the lapped cars of Dan Blake that they're just making their way past just now. Dan's had an absolutely abysmal night tonight. Completely not his fault whatsoever, but it's just been so unlucky for him.
Yeah, very much the case. And now you can see that the legs on that Corvette are well and truly striding, because look how close he is going into the chase. Priaulx looking towards the inside, sticks his nose in to let Buchan know that he's there. But Martin Buchan said, thou shalt not pass, and definitely made sure that Sebastian Priaulx was not going to get past. But a great bit of spatial awareness from both drivers there. And there is Joonas Raivio closing on Scott Mitchell. And that is the battle for 7th and 8th respectively. They're about 4.4 seconds behind Sebastian Priaulx. Jensen Button, in the meantime, is trying to close that gap onto Sido Weijer, and it's around about 4 seconds at the minute. So I think to be in as... Oh, Priaulx's getting a bit feisty, trying to get... Now, he was looking towards the outside to get the cut back through into Griffin's Bend on Martin Buchan. That's given him a real good run into the cutting. So let's go on board with Sebastian Priaulx. Loses a bit of momentum, gets a tight apex, as does Buchan. And the good thing here, David, is that Sebastian Priaulx can effectively use Martin Buchan as a marker for where he needs to plant that Corvette.
Yeah, the problem that Seb Priaulx has got with his first half of the season, though, Alex, is that he has a tendency to use other cars as a banister for getting himself around. So he's going to have to kind of avoid that, because the race controller is going to be watching that with a fine-tooth comb. But all credit to Martin Buchan. He is absorbing that pressure like an absolute sponge right now. But for how much longer? How long is Martin able to withhold this pressure? Because Seb is so fast right now. He has got his number, and is all credit to him. He's had several opportunities, Alex, where he could have just absolutely sent it and thinks better of it. But that last lap round, my heart was in my mouth, because Seb Priaulx 100% had a wheel on the grass there, on the braking zone as the chase. Here we go.
Right. Priaulx again, he nailed the slingshot. Is he going to stop it in time? He has done. Buchan towards the outside. They're side by side through the exit of the chase. Little bit of door panel banging there. Buchan could get the inside run into Murray's corner, but he slots in behind. Great driving from Seb Frio. That was really, really well done. He kept it planted to the outside and he played the old game of chicken with Martin Buchan, didn't he?
He certainly did. I'll tell you what, I've never seen that before from Martin Buchan. That was a very deliberate, I don't like what you've been doing. I've never seen that side of Martin Buchan. He's normally cool, calm, composed, but that was a very deliberate shot across the bows there for Seb Prio. Tries to make it one way or the other, but I'll be honest with you, now Seb Prio's passed, I can't see Martin Buchan getting that position back. I think the excitement comes from Joonas Raivio, because while all that's happened, he's went and done Scott Mitchell. So Joonas Raivio gets himself up to 7th place, 4 seconds with 3 minutes left to go. Surely he's going to be sticking for 7th place there, but who knows what could happen.
A big thank you to Kerry Spiller Ballesteros, Sandro's mum, who's just said he spent the last 20 minutes with the wheel at 5 to 12. To be fair, much of the damage to his car isn't of his own doing. He let his teammate past and encouraged him on the comms between themselves on their team chat. What a gentleman this lad is. Kerry, I couldn't agree with you further from that at all. A real good job by Sandro to keep on pushing no matter what gets thrown at him. We are 2.5 minutes away from the completion of this 4th round of the 2nd season of the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge. It has been rather enthralling, as there is a definite ding-dong battle there. That is between, that is Chris Wilson, and that looks to be Bradley Brockie's just behind, and that is for that's for 15th position. So yeah, still all to play for this evening.
Certainly is, and Jan van der Heyde, your race leader, is now just 1.5 seconds ahead of Matt Richards. Matt was 5/10 or 4/10 of a second faster than the race leader that last lap round, so it's all hell for leather right now for Matt Richards. I think it's done. I think he needs to just accept it. Oh, he's very, very wide going into the corner there, up the cutting through the hill there, and Matt Richards power slides his way. That's the race done. That's going to hand everything to Jan van der Heyde right now.
Well, I think in some respects, as Bradley Brockie's has just had a moment, he's had a massive turnaround going through the cutting, and he's now doing the 3-point turn, and yeah, he's just waiting until it's safe to get back out on circuit, and he's got another car coming up. That is, funny enough, his teammate Sandro Ballesteros. So both eTeam BRIT drivers having sustained damage this evening on their McLaren 720Ss. They're going to have to come back and fight another day, but there is Jan van der Heyde, and we are into the last 60 seconds of what's been an enthralling 4th round.
I think we're going to get potentially one more lap out of this.
Yeah, so I think you're very much right there, David. So when Jan van der Heyde crosses the line, he's now heading towards the chase. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he is going to... he's not going to slow down, because that could allow Matt Richards to close up on him, because even though he's 1.4 seconds adrift, you slow down, you want to keep that gap as high as humanly possible. So with just under 20 seconds to go, we now go on to the final lap here at Mount Panorama, lap number 31. It was such a tight qualifying session this evening, and now what will happen is that Jan van der Heyde will have to start flashing the headlights to ask the drivers in front to get out of the way. The clock has now officially struck 0 as our 2 leaders go through into Griffin's Bend for the final time, as there is we see Cami Sturch on the bottom right hand corner, number 5 from Team Ford Zeller. She's done an absolutely fantastic job this evening, and not yet taken a win in the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, but I'm sure that could be on the cards. That Radical has been piloted nice and consistently by Cami, as now van der Heyde starting to come through McPhillamy, and now into Skyline into the S's for the last time. There is Jensen Button on the bottom right-hand corner. He's our top invitational in 4th position.
But look at Matt Richards, Alex. How fast is he closing right to the back end of your race leader?
Yeah, I'm wondering, did Von der Heyde have a bit of a moment, but then they've got the back marker traffic. What this is going to allow is that Richards will get a tow, but will Von der Heyde get a tow as well coming through into the chase? This is going to be rather close. So we just wait for them to go through. They now go into the chase, hard on the brakes, flames spitting out of both side exhausts. But I don't think it's going to be enough, because under the bridge for the final time from Zansho Simsport. Is he going to do it? Yes, it's going to be another different winner. 3 from 4. Jan Von der Heyde takes the victory here at Mount Panorama, ahead of new championship leader Matt Richards by 0.3 of a second. Sido Weijer rounds out the podium from Zansho Simsport in 3rd position. So great job by the Zansho Simsport duo. That will help them in the championship standings. But Jensen Button will come round Murray's Corner, our last-minute invitational for this week. He takes the checkered flag and finishes in 4th position. And about 11 seconds down the road, the second of the 3 invitationals that made it to the finish, Sebastian Priaulx, will round out the top 5 ahead of Martin Buchan, who narrowly holds on ahead of Joonas Raivio by 0.3 of a second at the line. Scott Mitchell will take 8th position, a great debut for Kings Racing, the number 89. Christian Kelly takes 9th ahead of Louis Stewart. Ben Brown takes a victory here at Mount Panorama by finishing 11th ahead of the Netherlands' very own Haytham Abdelkader. Cammy Sturch takes another 2nd position in 13th place on the road. Here is Louis Stewart in the number 13 Green Machine Motorsport Audi R8 LMS GT3. We haven't really talked that much about him, but he has done a stellar job this evening to round out the top 10 overall. Obviously, the points will be dependent on the revised order, because obviously both Jensen Button and Sebastian Priaulx are invitational class drivers only. They do not score points. So Louis Stewart crosses the line. Ben Brown takes the victory here for CAMSport Fire at Mount Panorama. So Jack Nicholls finishes in 14th behind ahead of Chris Wilson. Haytham Abdelkader now will come through the final corner in the sole Aston Martin. Cammy Sturch now will take the checkered flag, and look how close that Jack Nicholls is at the finish line, finishing about 0.4 of a second off. So 2 overall top 15 finishes for Kings Racing on their debut. Bradley Brockies finishing in 16th behind Chris Wilson. Sandro Ballesteros in 17th. Ed Straw in 18th ahead of Ben Hetherington and Grant Lyman, who complete the top 20, with Dan Blake being the 21st and final classified driver here this evening. Stuart Ross French DNFing on lap number 14. Luke Mitchell on lap 12. Bobby Trunby lap 9. David Taylor-Piggott on lap 5. Alex Buncombe, unfortunately, on lap 3. Then we had David Simon on lap 2, with Max Spooner being disqualified on lap number 5. But what a race. What a race. I think it got into its rhythm, David, and we were treated to such a great spectacle.
Yeah, we certainly were. I mean, there were so many high points through that race, and so many little battles that were going on. Obviously, we saw the leaders, Matt Richards and Jan Von der Heyde. Then we had Sido Weijer duking it out with Jensen Button. Towards the end, we had Seb Priaulx giving it what for with Martin Buchan. Very interested to see to speak potentially with Seb Priaulx and Martin Buchan, Alex, afterwards. But Joonas Raivio doing a cracking job on that recovery drive after making his own mistake there, and going to the back of the field, getting back into 7th place. That is something to write home about.
Yeah, very much the case. I think we have to give credit to a lot of people behind the scenes. A big thank you for everyone that's made this championship happen. Of course, we can't forget about our good old broadcast director, Mike Yao from Simply Race. We provide the sound, he provides the visuals, and once again, he's done an absolutely fantastic job. A big thank you to our series race directors this evening. Hopefully, we are going to try and see if we can get our top 3 for both Pro and Am in for a chat in the interview booth. But before we do that, let's go to a brief break after what's been an enthralling 60 minutes here at Mount Panorama.
To allow us to be able to compete on a level playing field, we've had to use existing technology to create a set of hand controls that allow us to race on a level playing field. So if you imagine you're going to chicane at 150 miles an hour, our disabled drivers have to be able to go through the chicane at the same speed as the able-bodied driver. That means braking, steering, gear down, on the throttle, off the throttle, on the brake. Now, if we keep losing half a second or a few tenths of a second at every chicane, we might be the best driver on the track, but we can't be competitive. So that was the criteria that I gave the engineers. That if we can't do that, then we can't go racing. Al Locke is he's the brains behind our team. He's our race engineer. I tell him what I want and how I want it. He says it's not possible, and I know it's possible because I believe in Al. The cost of the hand controls varies from about £5,000 to about £7,500. That's because we've managed to find a manufacturer in Slovenia that does all this specialist engineering. None of this would be possible without Al's British engineering.
The main thing that inspires me to keep going with Team BRIT is the quest for constant improvement. You know, we've developed a set of hand controls, and we're not a team that's going to rest on their laurels. We're constantly pushing for better and faster developments.
Well, now it's time to get the interviews underway here at round 4 at Mount Panorama, and I'm pleased to have in the interview booth, congratulations Jan van der Heyde, a fantastic win. The battle between you and Matt, and obviously Sido and the likes of Joonas as well. Really good race, but it was quite tricky out there, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Thank you very much. It was quite intense in the end. Obviously, I think Matt ultimately had the best pace out there today. So we, kind of try to pull out every trick in our head, and yeah, that's why I was a bit heavier at the start. And then in the end, it paid off. I was quite tight with the fuel in the end, but yeah, actually we made it work. So quite pleased with that. Yeah.
Quite a different circuit to what we had at Hockenheim a couple of weeks ago, where you came back. Obviously, we knew that you were otherwise engaged on for our round at Interlagos, but this has really helped you in terms of your championship push, hasn't it? A second and a victory within 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have to make up for the one round I had to miss, unfortunately. So yeah. That's quite good in terms of making the championship interesting again, I guess. Yeah.
Well done tonight, Jan, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at Adelaide for round 5.
Thank you very much, and thank you for broadcasting and the whole event. Thank you.
No problem at all. You're more than welcome. Okay, so next up from Jan, we will go to I think the person that's now going to be the new championship leader after 4 rounds, the halfway point, our defending champion. Let's bring in Rocket eSports Matt Richards, shall we? And see. Good evening, Mr. Richards. Congratulations in place. I know that you would have wanted to get that win, but you now provisionally take the championship lead at the halfway point. Well done.
Thank you very much. I only caught half of that one, but I'll answer it as best as I can. It was an okay race. We'll unfortunately just a little bit of a mistake in the middle, but yeah, still happy with the result.
And obviously, this means for you guys at Rocket Esports, it pushes you a little bit further ahead in the team standings. You and I do talk off away from race evenings anyway, and it's looking rather good for you guys, because obviously you Zansho Simsport are the defending champions, but now with Rocket Esports, you and Joonas have a really good chance of stretching your advantage, and I think you've done that this evening. I know that another race of damage limitation for Joonas, but it was a case of you push too hard, the mountain bites back really hard, doesn't it?
Oh, very much so. I think I think up until 5 minutes to go, I think there was only one of our say 7-car group that didn't have or hadn't contacted the wall at least once, but unfortunately that went with 5 minutes to go as well. So yeah, it's I mean, we were all pushing really hard over the mountain. I think that was pretty evident by some of the sketchy moments that we had, and that's just how the way that it works out. Sometimes you get it right, and sometimes it really kicks you.
Well, well done this evening, Matt, and good luck for Adelaide in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to Matt from Rocket Esports. We'll next bring in our third place finisher from the pro category, Zansho Simsport's Sido Weijer. So Sido, thank you very much for joining us here in the interview booth post-race. A third place again. Very difficult race, I think, for everybody, yourself notwithstanding. But just give us an overview of your race this evening, because it wasn't easy at all.
It was definitely difficult. The walls are always close here, so yeah, straight from the start I had Jensen Button on my tail, and he kept in a slipstream pretty much the whole first stint. At the end, he even passed me, but during the pit stops, I'm not sure what happened, but I was in front of him again. And after that was just managing the fuel a bit. I had on the fuel slightly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very difficult track to, as you say, everyone, I think Matt admitted, Jan also admitted it was quite difficult. But it made for an interesting race, and obviously the strategy that Jensen decided to play a longer strategy call, which sort of cost him, and you got the undercut, and that might have sort of given you a bit of breathing space there quite considerably. But does this mean that we could see a lot more good strategy calls from Sido Weijer come Adelaide in a couple of weeks?
Well, I hope so. That is the plan, of course.
Indeed it is. Well, Sido, well done this evening for third place, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up we are going to go to our AM class winner, and I'm pleased to welcome into the interview booth Ben Brown from CAMSport Fire. Let's bring him in. Well, Ben, congratulations on another victory this evening. Well done. That was definitely hard fought, wasn't it?
Yes, definitely. It was really just down to surviving. I think I knew coming into this that it was going to be tricky. It's definitely not a Mercedes track, as you could see. I know Christian struggled in the pro class. We really were not that quick, but the consistency was there, so it was just keeping it out of trouble really. And I think a big shout out for Stuart, who disconnected about a third of the way through the race, and me and him were having a nice little battle for the lead. So it's a bit of a shame that happened with his internet. So
yeah, I did see his message in the Discord chat. I was absolutely gutted because he was going so well. It was really looking close between you guys and also Cammy from Team Fordzilla. But congratulations on a win this evening. That's your second one after taking the victory at Interlagos. You looking forward to Adelaide in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite classic F1 tracks. It will be the first time I've taken a GT3 round there, so looking forward to getting back on that and having some fun throwing it through the first chicane. That should be good fun.
Sounds good to me. Well done, Ben. Congratulations. A two-time AM class winner this season in Season 2. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Cheers, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to our runner-up in AM. It's a second place finish for this particular driver. Let's bring in Team Fordzilla's Cammy Sturch. Good evening, Cammy. Another second place finish, 2 seconds, 2/3 this year. You can't seem to catch a little bit of a break at the moment.
Nope, that was mine, and I threw it away as the car evolved and changed. It just caught me out. So yeah, I had it and lost it.
Still, nevertheless, a good recovery to come back to finish runner-up, and that puts you very much in the championship fight going into the second half of the season. Of course, we head to Adelaide, a classic Formula One circuit, the home of also the Clipsal 500 for supercars at the minute. Is that a track that you're going to be looking forward to racing at?
Yeah, a lot more than a lot more than I was looking forward to Bathurst. Yeah, I haven't raced it since I think Ben was saying, like, the old classic F1. Sort of the old games. This is the last time I've been on Adelaide, but yeah, hopefully it'll come back. You never forget like how to ride a bike.
That's very, very true. But well done tonight. Good to see you back on the AM class podium, and hopefully that gives you a bit more impetus, because I understand you've been running solo for the last couple of rounds, haven't you, for Team Fordzilla? Yeah,
pretty much. So we brought in a couple of extra drivers who became Team Fordzilla too, but I seem to have my teammate Charlie Crossland. I know he's not been in the last 2 rounds. I think he won't be competing in the rest of the season. I don't know. I just don't think he's able to adapt well at the moment to R-Factor 2.
Mm-hmm. But it's good to see that you're moving in strides forward, and congratulations for tonight.
Well, I've just got to say, with the spins, I kept out the wall, and you just have to keep trying, and the persistence pays off.
Indeed it did, Cammy. Well done tonight, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks at Adelaide.
Thanks very much.
Another chapter in the book here on the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge, hasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly has. A fantastic twist to the season now. Another pro winner. It really blows the doors off that championship right now. Joonas Raivio coming in, guns blazing, having a good lead, and now it's all on its head. I know, obviously, we've seen a new championship leader for just now, but another 4 rounds left to go. Who knows what's going to happen, Alex?
Indeed. So that is it from us here at the eTeam BRIT GT Challenge for round 4 here at Mount Panorama. Join us in 2 weeks' time as we head to Adelaide. If anyone might remember a season-defining moment back in 1994, that's the circuit where it took place, and it's also the home of the Clipsal 500. Join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and David Christie in a couple of weeks' time, and we will speak to you very, very soon indeed. On behalf of myself, Alex Goldschmidt, David Christie, of course, Mike Yao from Simply Race, our broadcast director, and the entire team, stay safe, look after yourselves, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.